watching live coverage of the Mackinac Policy Conference here on Detroit Public Television. Good morning. I am Zoe Clark, and I am joined by Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan and Ron Hardamon, CEO and Chief Strategist of Urge Development Group. Welcome to you both.
Morning.
Morning.
Great to have you. So, Mayor, you are once again the talk of the island. You've proposed a new land value tax, a split rate property tax. First, just how would it work?
Well, if you own a house in Detroit, it would mean a 25% property tax cut on average. And Detroiters don't have to be told how high their property taxes are. But we do it this way. We're going to cut building costs across the city 30%, but we're going to triple the tax on the land. And so for homeowners, it's a great thing. If you have a vacant lot, your tax will go from $30 to $85. If you have a parking lot, scrap yards that take up a lot of land, you own a lot of land you're not using, your tax is going to go up pretty high. But for anybody who's building in Detroit, your taxes are going to come down. But a big part of why we have so much vacant land in Blight and not enough building is we tax the heck out of the buildings. We pretty much don't tax the land at all.
Mm-hmm. And the goal is?
Well, I would certainly like property owners in Detroit to put more money in their pockets. It will be an opportunity to build wealth for Detroiters. Mm-hmm. But I also want to turn this vacant land into development, and Rod has done an amazing job of that already, and I want to have him be a lot busier than he is.
Well, Rod, that's exactly it. I want to turn to you. From a development point of view, what is this going to mean for you and other folks? Who does this help in the city?
Yeah, so I think let's start off with who it helps.
Yeah.
Right. One of the reasons why I'm so supportive of this because it benefits homeowners and residents very significantly without them having to do anything but vote. They vote, it automatically kicks in, and that's a really strong thing to benefit and give something back to the residents who've been here and supported the city for so long. It's going to be a game changer. It'll put money back in their pockets, which they can reinvest back into their homes, their properties. So whether you're a homeowner or you own a small apartment building or a two-family flat, you'll be able to actually put that money back in, which will benefit all the residents in the city. And as a developer, when you have certainty, that's what you need. Bringing down the tax bill for property owners and developers is going to encourage many more developers, both in-state and out-of-state, to jump in Detroit and be a part of this comeback story and be revitalization. It's going to be great.
My understanding is Philadelphia. There have been other cities that have tried this model. What kind of success and outcomes have we seen?
Not on this magnitude, so there's not really a good comparison. The only reason this works for us is we have a huge amount of vacant land because of the deindustrialization. Basically in Detroit today, we collect very little money off the property tax on land. And as a result, over the years, they've raised the taxes on the buildings. And so this is something that hasn't been tried on the scale. We know what the math looks like. But somebody like Rod, who looks at a vacant apartment building and says, I can bring that back to life, he's trying to figure out, do the numbers work? He's not in business to lose money. And right now, you have to get through a complex set of abatements to make those numbers work. We'd like to make that just a little bit easier for him.
It's going to simplify the process, right? Yeah. And I think that simplification will encourage more investment, not only downtown and midtown, but the neighborhoods. That's mean it's going to really, the impact there in the neighborhoods and the commercial corridors is going to be significant because simplification makes everyone else participate more.
Yeah. Mayor, as you talked about, as we're all talking about, this would need to pass the legislature. For the first time in 40 years, the state has a Democratic legislature, a majority rule, and you have a Speaker of the House for the first time in decades and decades from Detroit. How is that going to fit in to the fact that, again, lawmakers need to pass it?
Well, I've talked to a number of Republican legislators last night who were very supportive, so I'm not sure this is going to be a partisan issue. But it does help to have a speaker, Joe Tate, who owns a house in Detroit and understands exactly what we're talking about. So Speaker Tate, who happens to be my state representative, is going to be leading the charge. We do need to get it passed around September because we want to put it on the ballot with the presidential election in February. And then this won't kick in all at once because you have people who have made investments based on this tax structure over a lot of years. We're going to phase this in a third and 20 tax increase kicks in, and that's what we want.
Right, 2025 is what we're talking about. Rod, so the legislature would need to pass it. Detroit voters would need to approve it. What's your sense about how voters will look and feel, and then how do you message and talk to them about it?
I think the voters are going to be very supportive. I think the fact that we're giving something back without lots of hoops to jump through, a lot of forms to fill out. That's going to be very significant. People recognize the value. People have been asking for help. Well, this is help in a very significant way. It's going to be, I think, a massive generational wealth creation opportunity for the city, for the residents who've been here for so long. So I think the message is going to be relatively simple. But we got to explain it to them.
Yeah.
Folks are smart. Folks understand. But when you talk about punchline, I'm going to drop your property taxes 25%, they understand that's cash in their pocket. That means I can do everything else I need to do.
Yeah, we won't have trouble with the voters, but our fight will be in the legislature, and that's what we're gearing up for.
So let's say it passes, right? 10 years from now, what do you think success will look like? What could the city look like if this is passed in a decade?
You would see fewer vacant parcels, fewer vacant buildings, fewer parking lots, fewer scrap yards, a lot more single-family homes, and a lot more development, wouldn't you say?
I agree. And you're going to see it throughout the entire city. There'll be areas in Detroit that are some of the maybe a little more challenging today. When you bring down that cost of the taxes, which is a big part of kind of financing these projects, then most people are going to every other neighborhood. And I think it'll be very prolific across the city.
We've got about 30 seconds left. I have to ask you, Mayor. Everyone always is waiting to hear your keynote. I'm curious, who do you look forward to hearing from at the conference?
Well, today, certainly Bill Ford.
Yeah,
I'm going to love to hear, and I always go to the governors. So we'll see how it goes.
Mayor, thanks so much. Rod, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having us.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back.